We provide full charge bookkeeping services as well as project accounting services. When you have those problems with your taxes, you've got a couple years to get fixed, or you just don't know how to do a bank rec, or you need to get that fixed, we can take care of it. Once you get that taken care of and you have a full-time bookkeeper in there, you might want to hire us as a financial controller. A financial controller is someone that checks in on your bookkeeper and makes sure that you're in compliance with GAAP standards. We also do data migration services. You might be in one type of QuickBooks and want to change over to another product, or vice versa. Change over from one product and migrate into QuickBooks. We can help bring your data over. We do lots of software implementation services as well as consulting and training. I do a lot of guest speaking engagements with different organizations. Watch our website and look forward to meeting all of you in person someday. We are an Intuit Premier reseller. We sell products and we help you get the best pricing. We're also a T-Sheets preferred reseller as well as a third-party Intuit software application solution provider. I would like to introduce you to Kelly Batchoffner with EBS Associates. She's been here since 2008. She does a great job keeping everybody posted on what's going on around here. Kelly's an advanced QuickBooks Pro advisor, and she will briefly go over the Intuit payroll options. Kelly, you want to take it from here?
Sure. Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. I'm here to explain to you the 3 Intuit payroll options, and keep in mind with all of these options, you are able to pull your employees' time cards into QuickBooks using T-Sheets. The first option I'm going to go over is the Intuit Enhanced Payroll. This is a do-it-yourself payroll option that includes the payroll tax tables within QuickBooks, and you are responsible for paying the payroll tax liabilities. We recommend this option if you are an experienced payroll processor and if you require job costing capabilities. It is a yearly subscription and a $2 per employee per month fee. The second option is the Intuit Assisted Payroll. With the Assisted Payroll option, you are able to create the paychecks within QuickBooks, hit Submit, and Intuit handles the rest. This is a great option if you still want to have control over creating the paychecks, however, you do not want the responsibilities of paying the payroll taxes. We also recommend this option if you require job costing capabilities. This is a per month fee on top of a $2 per employee per month fee. Lastly, we have the Intuit Full Service Payroll. This option is very similar to what you see to outside payroll services, however, it's done directly through Intuit, where you submit your employees' timesheets online, and Intuit takes over the rest from creating the paychecks and paying the payroll taxes. The payroll journal entries then import into your QuickBooks. We recommend this option if you do not require job costing and you are a new user to payroll. Right now is a great time to start thinking about payroll options for the new year, so my contact information will be at the next slide, and feel free to reach out to me directly if you have any questions. Denise, I'll take it back to you.
Well, I'd just kind of like to know if there are any questions regarding payroll. All right. Thank you, Kelly. Now I'd like to introduce my friend Kelly from T-Sheets. I'd give you her last name, but I can never pronounce it, so when she comes on board here, maybe she can share that with us. As you will see, T-Shirts is a fabulous product that EBS Associates fully supports. We sell hundreds of licenses to this product. Just recently, we've sold a couple hundred. It's very popular. It's one of the #1 applications that Intuit recommends. Kelly and Debbie will demonstrate to you how you can save time using T-Sheets and the integration between T-Sheets and QuickBooks Payroll. Kelly with a B. Kelly, take it away.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Denise. And thank you, everybody, this morning for joining us for this webinar. Debbie and I are really excited to get to show you guys T-Sheets. And sorry, I'm just getting it queued up to show my screen. Hopefully you guys are seeing it. Seeing the T-Sheets logo. But we're really excited to be here to share a little bit about our solution with you. And the real star of this presentation is going to be my coworker, Debbie Birkland, who is our pro support specialist. She's going to be the one doing the technical portion of the demo. My name is Kelly Bistrichanu, so no hard feelings, Denise, about not being able to pronounce it, because it's definitely a big Romanian mouthful, and I never expect anyone to be able to say it unless they're related to me. Then you have no excuse. But other than that, it's a pretty challenging name. But I am the accounting program director over at T-Sheets, and that means I work closely with Denise and her staff to help with T-Sheets implementations, and we're just here. So I just wanted to share a little bit about T-Sheets as a solution before I turn it over to Debbie for the technical portion. So first of all, T-Sheets, just to get everybody on the same page, T-Sheets is a web-based time tracking company. And what that means, essentially, is that T-Sheets gives you a way to replace the old school, outdated, manual-oriented time tracking processes that you might be used to using in your business with a current cloud-based solution that can be accessed from anywhere in the world at any time. This means that there's no need for metal time clocks that sit in your warehouse, or for there to be only one station in your office that everyone can clock in and out of. It not only helps you reduce things like time theft and the prevalence of employees kind of fudging on their time cards, but it also helps you drastically eliminate the administrative time tied to getting payroll done every week. Now, T-Sheets has lots of other benefits that tie into things like billing, invoicing, and job costing, and Debbie will give you some insight into all of that in just a moment. But just to share with you a little bit more about us, we were founded in 2006, and since that time, we've been able to create over 5 million timesheets for small businesses, which is just kind of a cool statistic to get to share with you. We have about 10,000 users, but with those 10,000 users, 10,000 customers, we've made 5 million timesheets. It's sort of a neat number. We currently operate in over 37 different countries, and we've continued to experience 100% year-over-year growth. And that's not something I share with you guys to brag on T-Sheets' success. It's because that number, to me, really proves that this solution is solving a real pain point for businesses, not just in this country, but all over the world. Time tracking, statistically, is actually the #1 issue that small business owners struggle with in their businesses. And the reason being, when you think of your profit and loss statement at the end of the year, typically, what's the biggest loss? It's normally the biggest expense any small business is going to incur is going to be labor and payroll costs. And so if you had a solution, something that could magically give you back at minimum a 2% gain on your gross payroll costs, wouldn't you want to take a look at that solution? And essentially, that's what T-Sheets is. So I don't want to get too in the weeds and tell you too much else. As Denise knows, there's lots of other fun stories I could share about T-Sheets and ways it's been implemented with our customers to help them save time. And we're happy to talk some use cases at the end if you guys would like some more information. But for now, I'm actually just going to turn it over to Debbie, and she's going to take you guys in product and show you everything from our web dashboard to our mobile options and give you a really great in-depth look at how T-Sheets not only works on its own, but also how we can collaborate with QuickBooks and our QuickBooks integration.
Thank you, Kelly. Like Kelly was saying, my name is Debbie. I'm with the Pro Support team here at T-Sheets, and I absolutely love being able to show people what T-Sheets can do. And I'm going to give you kind of like an appetizer or maybe a light lunch of T-Sheets today, because T-Sheets can actually be customized in an amazing variety of ways, and there literally is not time in this webinar to show you everything, and even if I did show you everything, you'd walk away exhausted because there is so much that we can do. But I'm going to give you a really good overview of what T-Sheets has to offer, and definitely, if you need to know more, we're happy to answer those questions. So here I am on our page, tsheets.com. If anybody can't see that, definitely let us know in that chat panel or in the question panel, and I'll make some adjustments. But hopefully everybody can see my web page, which or the T-Sheets web page. On the front it says time tracking your employees will love, and you can see up here in our logo, we heart employees. We really do. We really do love employees, and hopefully making their time tracking easier, as well as giving the owners of the company or managers, supervisors really good functionality and useful information out of that time tracked. So I'm going to hop over here to this login page. Now I am logging into my company A+ Construction, so you can see up at the top I have my own URL or web address for this company. Because we are a cloud-based system or software, and frankly we were cloud-based before cloud-based was even a buzzword. We've been solely internet-based since 2006, and so each account with T-Sheets has its own URL or T-Sheets web address. That's where your employees go to clock in and out. So when I log in here to A+ Construction, I'm going to log in as Raymond. He is the administrator on the account. So Raymond has full access to anything and everything within that T-Sheets account. The normal end user certainly does not have anywhere near the same kind of access that Raymond does, because it just wouldn't be appropriate for ordinary end users to be able to see and do everything the administrator can do. Permissions within T-Sheets are very much customizable, and that is so that you can give employees the appropriate permissions for what they need to do within the T-Sheets account. Everybody gets their own username and their own password, and that's how we can keep everybody's time and activity within T-Sheets separate from everybody else's. I'm going to go ahead and hit my sign in button here. And first of all, I'd like to point out on the right-hand side, there's this Who's Working window. This Who's Working window is an amazing tool, and you can see that I neglected to clock anybody in earlier today. That was my failure, because this Who's Working window should look a lot more impressive than it does right now. My employees are apparently taking the day off. So on this Who's Working window, we're able to see who is working and what exactly it is that they're doing or what project they're working on. So typically this would show that Donald was working on a particular project, Frank was working on a project, and whatever the case may be. Now maybe Donald forgot to log in this morning, and you reach out to him and you're like, hey Don, what's going on? Where are you? Oh, I'm at the job site. I've been there since 8. The administrator or his supervisor can actually use this window to clock him in. So I'm just going to click on Donald's name. Because I have customers and service items and a billable choice turned on in this account, which you don't have to track time against all these things, but I am within this account, I need to go ahead and select the customer. Maybe he's working on Juniper Lane Condos, Phase 1, and he's doing some foundation work, and yes, that time is billable. All right, and hit save. Now it shows that Donald has been on the clock, and I just now clocked him in. Now if he should have been clocked in a few hours ago, that can actually be done from within here as well, because I can simply say 8 a.m. is when he clocked in. There we go. Now he's actually showing 3 hours and 16 minutes on the clock. So from this Who's Working window, you can actually see who is currently on the clock and who is not. So like we just did with Donald, an administrator or a supervisor can correct that situation if somebody did forget to clock in. Now Madeline down here below, she tracked 8 hours and 24 minutes earlier today, but she's currently off the clock. And I know that because her name is grayed out and there's no little dot next to her name. See up here, Donald, he's bolded, green dot, he's on the clock. This Who's Working window is actually one of my favorite features of T-Sheets from an employee standpoint, because here at T-Sheets we do use our own product to track our time. And so let's say I need to have a chat with Kelly in the morning, but I get in earlier than she does. I can either stare out the window, wait for her car to pull up, or I can simply watch this Who's Working window, and when she clocks in, I'll be able to see her name go bold, give her about 5 or 10 minutes to get her coffee and get settled and check her email, and then I'll just go downstairs and chat with her. So this Who's Working window is really kind of a nice tool from an employee perspective as well as an employer perspective in order to see who is on the clock and who isn't at any given time. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of that and talk about the different ways that we can actually track time within T-Sheets. So one of them is this time card that is called My Time Card, or we also refer to it as the punch style time card. Now with this one, to track time, you're simply going to click on the appropriate job that you're working on. So maybe Raymond is going to be working on the Park Center Plaza project today. He's just going to click on Park Center Plaza. His task timer will start. His day and his week timers will grow as the day and week go on. He will go ahead and enter his service item. Now you can see that his list of service items, I don't know if you noticed, compared to Donald's, is much smaller. And that's because we can actually assign service items to customers. So rather than having to look at the entire list of service items, Raymond is just looking at the 3 service items that are appropriate for this particular customer. So we can assign service items to customers, which is a nifty little tool to make those lists a little bit shorter to work through. And then I do have a billable choice turned on within T-Sheets, and I'm going to say yes, this work on plans and specs is billable. And then there is also a free text notes field. I'm going to shift this up a little bit. There's also this free text notes field where Raymond can write up to 2,000 characters about whatever it is that he's working on. So maybe he is finalizing plans for, I don't know, guest house edition or something, and save those notes. Now he can add those notes at any point during the time that he's tracking for this particular customer today. So they don't have to be put in when he starts tracking his time or when he clocks out. He can add those notes whenever he needs to. So this punched out time card is capturing those very accurate start and stop times for the employees. Now, if you don't necessarily want your employees to have to capture their start and stop times, perhaps they're salaried employees and you need to be able to track which jobs they're working on, but you're not terribly worried about when they started work or when they stopped work. You can also use the manual time card. Now, I'm going to go ahead and switch Raymond, switch his name here over to Nora. There we go. Nora likes to use the manual time card. Now, to use the manual time card, it looks very much like paper and pencil, doesn't it? It functions much like paper and pencil. 2 benefits to it over paper and pencil are that you can actually read the writing, and T-Sheets will do all the addition. So we don't have to try to decipher numbers and customer names. T-Sheets will take care of all of that, and T-Sheets will actually add everything up for you. So Nora's going to choose this No Customer button, and maybe today she's doing work on the Peaceful Cove project, and she's worked 3.5 hours on that. We can still add in our service item, and let's say she was doing some administrative tasks, and nope, that's not billable. She also has a notes field here. Maybe she was, I don't know, working on correspondence with clients or something like that. And save. So this particular note is now attached to this piece of time. Now perhaps after she worked on Peaceful Cove, she also worked on the Reddington Estate project, and she put in another 5 hours on that one. We'll go ahead and assign the service item. And perhaps on this one, she was working on plans and specs. And yes, that's billable. And again, she can put notes in here if she needs to as to what she did for those plans and specs. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and hit the Save button, which will save this particular timesheet. There we go. Now you can see down here at the bottom it turned red. That means I went into overtime. With T-Sheets, we can track weekly overtime, daily overtime. In California, we can track those California double time rules as well. So that can also be customized. The daily and the weekly overtime can be customized. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close out of that time card and pull up the mobile app. Now the mobile app is pretty exciting. So this is, I'm going to go into the mobile app on an iPhone. Technically it's actually an iPod, but the iPhone app works on an iPod or an iPad or an iPhone. We do have apps built for both iPhone and Android platforms. If you have something other than an iPhone or an Android, perhaps a Windows phone or a BlackBerry, we can also use T-Sheets through just the internet function of that smart device. So out in the field, we can track time with a smartphone, a tablet, a laptop, really anything with an internet capability. We also have the ability to track time with both our punch dial and with both our dial-in and our text-in features using a non-internet capable device. So we have you pretty well covered to be able to track time away from the office. I'm going to go ahead and tap on this T-Sheets icon, which will bring me into the mobile app. Now with the mobile app, what this is bringing up initially is the punch style time card. So you can see here that we've got our job code spot. Now, I'll be honest, this mobile app is actually tied to my other demo account. I don't have a mobile app tied to the one that I've been working in. So we're not going to see, and I apologize for that, we're not going to see the billable choice or the service item. But if this particular account was tied to the one I was just showing you a moment ago, between the job code and the notes, you would see a line item for service item and one for billable choice. So we can definitely capture those in the mobile environment as well. Just going to tap on this job code field and select my job. So maybe this particular user, Mira, is going to start out her day traveling to her first job location. So I'm going to choose travel. And then maybe her supervisor wants her to indicate where she's traveling to when she's tracking time against travel. So maybe she's going, if I can spell, to the Reddington estate. And there we go, Reddington estate, and save. All right, and those notes are saved as well. We'll just hit clock in, and Mira is on the clock. There we go, her task timer will start. Now, if she needs to switch jobs during the day, let's say she arrives at the estate and she needs to change her job, she'll just use the switch function in the upper right corner of the app and switch to that new job or project. Now, another thing we have with the mobile app is crew functionality. So down at the very bottom middle of my screen, I hope you can see that button that says crew and has the 2 people on it. If Mira taps on that crew button, we can see that she's actually the manager of 3 different groups or crews within the app or within the account. Now, if she wants to see who the people are, she can simply tap on the names of those different groups. There's landscaping and there's the painting crew, and we can see that a couple of people are already clocked in because they have a job assigned and their name is in bold and their time is in bold. But let's say she needs to clock somebody else in. Maybe she needs to clock in Jennifer and Luther down below. She can just tap on the names of the people that she's clocking in, hit the next button in the upper right corner. This will bring her to where she can select the job. Now, T-Sheets is also going to tell her you're clocking in Jennifer and Luther. So we do have that reminder right here of who we're going to enter that time for. We're going to go ahead and select our job code. Now, maybe they're already maybe they're at the Wellington house for today. And then there is a notes field available here as well that Mira could use if she needed to. Now, within the mobile app, we can either just hit this clock in button in the upper right corner and then use that punch style time card essentially. Or do you see here where it says enter hours only? If I push this little button over to the right, there we go, I can actually enter the number of hours and essentially do manual time entry from within the mobile app as well. So in the mobile app, you can do either punch style or manual. It's up to you and what you feel is appropriate. Now, we can also enter, if I use this date feature, I can also enter this time for a previous day. So maybe this time is being entered for, that's not 2017, that would be terrible, but maybe this time is being entered for September 18th, for example. I can go ahead and just hit that clock in button now. We created timesheets for 2 users, and those weren't for today, those were actually for last week. So a manager of a crew can enter time for their employees using either punch style or manual timesheet. They can enter that time for either today or a previous day if they forgot to enter their time for those crew members on the appropriate day. So the crew app really puts a lot of functionality in the hands of the actual of the managers or those crew member or crew leaders out in the field. I'm going to go ahead and head back over to my regular T-Sheets account. Now, we also have, with the mobile app, GPS functionality. And so if we click on this Timesheets button, we actually pull up a list of all of the timesheets that we've ever created. Now, I'm going to kind of cheat here a little bit, and I'm going to see if I can pull this over. Oh, it's not going to let me pull that over. I need to pull it over from my other screen simply because, again, because I have that mobile app tied to my other account. This timesheets page is from my other screen. So I'm going to go ahead and make that a little bit bigger for you. Now, this timesheets page is a list of every single timesheet created for every single employee. Frankly, to me, it can be a little bit overwhelming because it's a lot of little font, and I'm not a fan of little font. So I'm going to use this name search feature to drill down to just Mira's time, because Mira is my employee that likes to use the mobile app. And you can see those notes that she just put in, so her notes that she's driving to the Reddington estate are here on the website as soon as she enters those into the mobile app, and then the mobile app syncs up to the website, which generally just takes a minute after a change has been made. So she can see the notes back at the office. You can see the notes that your people out in the field are putting in. Now we do have over here on the right this globe icon with a blue bubble, and that is a GPS map. So I'm going to actually pull up this map down here because I know this one I was sort of all over the place with. Alrighty, so this is essentially a Google map, and I'm going to go ahead and drill down closer on this Google map, and we'll be able to see where the employee clocked in with that green icon, and we've got that directional arrow showing where they went throughout the day. Now you can see it's sort of what do they call it, as the crow flies. So it's drawing a straight line between two GPS points. But the app will pull a GPS point approximately every 5 to 10 minutes throughout the day, so long as the device is on the move. Now, when I'm parked in my office for 8 hours straight, we're not going to get a stack of blue dots right on top of each other for 8 hours every 10 minutes. But once my device moves about 150 meters or about 2 or 3 blocks, those GPS points will start to pull. And when those GPS points start to pull, then we'll get this line with the directional arrows, and it'll tell us about every 5 to 10 minutes where that device was. It'll also tell us if they were on GPS or Wi-Fi, what the accuracy is, and what the device was that they were on. And then we'll get this red icon where that individual clocked out. So you can see I clocked out at 10:20 at night on Wi-Fi. If I drill down close enough on this, you'd actually see my house because we can switch this over to the satellite view and actually see buildings as well. So these maps are incredibly helpful. If you have an employee that you suspect might be, clocking in at the coffee shop down the street or from their home, or if they're running late, somewhere in between, the GPS maps can really help you see exactly where they are, when they clocked in, when they clocked out, when they changed to different jobs, and all those sorts of good things. Now, another thing that TSheets has available is Audit Logs, and this is what helps keep us Department of Labor compliant. I'm going to click on this little timesheet icon with a pencil. This shows me that a change was made, or it actually shows me all the activity on that timesheet. So I can see when Mira clocked in. Because her name is in black, she was clocking in for herself. Okay, she created a timesheet. And then Raymond, her supervisor, actually later in the day updated her timesheet and clocked her out. So any thing that's done on a timesheet will be, here we go, this is a much more interesting timesheet, will be maintained in this audit log. And these audit logs are literally set in stone. They cannot be edited at all. Even our developers cannot make a change to an audit log. So this is really great for any employer who might be getting audited or might be in the middle of a labor dispute. These audit logs really show every single activity that ever happened on every single timesheet within the account. And we maintain that data for as long as the account is open, which is kind of good peace of mind, I think, for the business owner as well as the employees. So we've covered how to enter time. Let's talk about a few different reports that we can run. So first of all, we have this approvals report. All of our reports can be run for a variety of ranges, date ranges. I'm going to go ahead and run this for my last pay period, I think. Go ahead and hit run report here. So when I run this report, I can see that some of these have already been approved. So apparently Madeline's manager, Raymond's manager, they've already approved some of this time. When the time has already been approved, we have this color coding to show us that the timesheets are now locked. In other words, the background is green, the timesheets are locked, and that time has been approved. Now, if the time has not yet been approved, then we can go in and review it and approve it. So for example, let's take a look at Jennifer. Now, I know that don't have very many, hours on this report, but we can see a breakdown of regular versus overtime and paid time off, because we can track that as well. Highly customizable within TSheets. If I choose this View Details button, I can see exactly which jobs or projects this employee worked on, and I can see the timesheets that they created when they were tracking that time. Now, if need be, I can go ahead and edit timesheets right from here. So I can hit that little edit button and I can say, oh, you know what, this wasn't it wasn't administrative time that Raymond was doing. He was actually out there doing some exterior painting. And he could change that billable to yes if he wanted to. We could write some additional notes, and then we can hit save. When we hit save, we can see that now there's exterior painting on there. We could also make a change to clock in time or clock out time, the number of hours that he tracked. Now once you're happy with the time, you just need to approve it. So to approve it, we're just going to hit this little approve button. Now we could also check all unapproved here and approve them all at one time. That's a little bit more efficient. Once the time is approved, we can then export it to QuickBooks. Now we also have a variety of other reports in here. We have a payroll report we can run. We have a project report. And then in this more section, we have about 20 other reports that are possible to run within T-Sheets. But I'm going to just show you really quickly this project report. Now this one is one of my favorites. I'm going to run this for a custom date range. And I'm going to say for this quarter, so we're going to say July through today. I'm just going to hit run report down here. This is a list of all of the hours tracked this quarter. I have my breakdown by customer, so I can see at a glance which customers are taking up more time or less time. If my employees are broken out into groups or crews, I have the breakdown of the different groups and crews and how much time each of them tracked. And then each of the employees and the time that they track, so I can see that this one employee, Claude, had actually tracked more time than any other during that quarter. If the time is broken down into, or if you have that billable choice turned on, we'll see how many hours were billable or not billable. You can see that most of the time I tracked this quarter did not even have that billable choice turned on, so it says not set. And then my favorite part of this favorite report is actually the service items. When we're tracking time against not only customers and sub-jobs, but also tasks, or what QuickBooks usually calls service items, we actually get a breakdown here of the time tracked against each service item. So you can at a glance see, well, this 19%, I know it's dark purple, it's really hard to see, but that's framing. So 19% of my company's time has been spent on framing. If that's appropriate for my projects, great, wonderful. We know that we're, in balance with where we should be. But if framing shouldn't be taking up the bulk of the time and perhaps something else should be, then I can also see at a glance that something's a little bit off and maybe I need to take a look at, maybe training some additional, training some extra efficiencies into my employees, or maybe revamping how my crews are set up, or do something to make sure that these tasks or service items are in line with where we estimate they should be for any given project. Now, if you wanted to know which projects have we done exterior painting on, I can simply click on that piece of the pie. Now I'm just looking at exterior painting, and as I scroll up, I can see exactly which customers I did exterior painting work for. Looks like Reddington Estate. Again, that doggone dark purple is so hard to see, but the Reddington Estate was nearly half of the exterior painting work. I hope that that was a really, really big property. Or maybe we just had a lot of change orders or rework we had to do, and again, lets us know that we need to address that. So this project report can actually give us a lot of insight into where the time is being spent and make sure that that time is appropriate for my projects. Now before I do my export to QuickBooks, I'd also like to just pull up my little customer list here. So within T-Sheets, we bring over our customer list from QuickBooks. We'll bring over the customers, your active employees, service items, classes, whatever it is you need us to bring over to track time against, we'll import it from QuickBooks. Now I can assign these customers to specific employees if need be. So if only a couple of my employees will be using that administrative time customer, I can assign it to them. I can also assign, if I click on this little pencil icon here for Park Center Plaza, I can also assign which service items are visible for this particular job. So all of my service items are these over here on the left, as well as these three on the right, but I've only assigned 3 service items to this particular customer. Now maybe I also need to assign some travel time. There we go. I can push travel time over there, and now that service item as well is available when I track time for this customer. So we can assign service items to customers. We can assign customers to employees. So we can actually become very specific in what our employees are able to see when they're tracking their time. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and export some time to QuickBooks so we can see what that looks like. So I'm going to go over here to my QuickBooks button in the upper right corner. Now, in order to export time to QuickBooks, we first have to run that approvals report. So when I run, and we already did, we ran the approvals report, we approved the time. Next step is to go to my QuickBooks button in the upper right corner and choose Export All Approved Time. You notice it has to be approved or it's not going anywhere. And it tells me I'm going to export 47.3 hours for 4 people. I can view the details if I want to. I'm going to go ahead and export that time. And there it goes. We always get a sync log to show us what we imported from QuickBooks or what we exported to QuickBooks. So in this case, I exported 47 hours and 18 minutes for these specific employees. If I look at my last sync log before that, this is an import. So I can see I didn't import any new employees the last time around. I did update some customers and some sub jobs. So these sync logs are very helpful in knowing what we sent or received in that sync with QuickBooks. So now that I've exported the time, I'm going to go ahead and hop over here to my QuickBooks Online account for A+ Construction. Now you might be wondering, where is it that we send that time? Well, whether it's QuickBooks Online or QuickBooks Desktop, because we can definitely integrate with both, what we do is we look for the time in the weekly timesheets. So in QuickBooks Online, I'm going to go to my little plus button, to my employees, and down to weekly timesheet. Of course, with QuickBooks Desktop, we would go to our employees and then to enter time and then weekly timesheet. So slightly different path to get there, but it's still in the weekly timesheets, whether we're talking about QuickBooks Desktop or QuickBooks Online. When I view that weekly timesheet, I'm going to switch this over to, let me see, I don't recall who I had some good time in there for, so I'm going to pull up Nora. Hopefully I have some good time in there for Nora. Let me look at last week. I didn't have any time. I should have paid attention to who I had time for. Here we go. So here for Nora, we populated the Reddington estate, so the customer field. We populated that service item field. Administrative time is not billable, so that was not selected in T-Sheets, and it's also not selected here in QuickBooks. And then remember that note we put in, plans and specs for the remodel? It populates the description. And then each day of the week and the number of hours for each. Now, I can still make changes here in QuickBooks if I need to. Perhaps this wasn't actually, 3 hours spent on meeting with the client about foundation work, but maybe it was actually, maybe it wasn't actually, sorry, 2 hours. Perhaps it was 3 hours. I can make that modification here in T-Sheets. I can also add or remove that billable choice. So even after we export the time to QuickBooks, we can still make modifications if we need to. Now, once the time is here in the weekly timesheets, you can run your invoices and all sorts of good things like that. But this is where T-Sheets will populate that time, and then from there, of course, you're in control of what happens to it once it's in QuickBooks. I'm going to go ahead and hit Save there and close out of that. All right, so what have we covered in this very speedy 30 minutes? We've covered how to track time using multiple methods, the punch style, the Manual Timecard, mobile apps. We covered a couple of different reports, the the project report and the approvals report, customers and how we can kind of customize what people can see with those, and assigning customers to employees. I know I didn't show you how to do that, but we can certainly do it, assigning service items to customers. Within T-Sheets, we can also turn on some different settings like overtime alerts. That way you're not shocked when it comes time to run payroll and finding that your employees have racked up in a crazy amount of overtime during the pay period. With overtime alerts, you're actually able to see those that overtime when it's happening, and that's an optional setting that we can turn on. We can also track your paid time off. And we can actually set up the paid time off accruals in a number of different ways. 3 different ways, actually, that we can set up those accruals. And then we can turn on reminders for employees to remember to clock in and clock out, which really helps with employee engagement. So that is a very high-level overview of T-Sheets and some of the core functionality of it, some of my favorite functionality as well. And if you have any questions, please be sure to put them in that question panel. And I am going to go ahead and kick this back to, well, actually, ladies, who would you like me to pass the presenter role back to now that I'm done with that technical component?
What we could do, there's And I think that Denise, you had your contact information on a slide. I think that would be a good slide to show right now, so I'm going to make you presenter. And I'm going to announce some questions. I do have a poll I'd like to launch. And Denise, if you'd like to answer these questions, that would be great. We have a question from Jolene. Thank you, Jolene. How much does it cost to add T-sheets, the T-sheets ad for QuickBooks?
Yeah, absolutely. So Jolene, what we can do is I'm happy to reach out to you directly. It's a base fee plus $5, I believe, per employee per month fee. If you do order through EBS Associates, you do get 10% off for the first year. So I'm happy to work with you. We will take into account how many employees you have and get you over a quote.
And how long does it take to implement this solution with QuickBooks?
Debbie, maybe I'll let you kind of handle that, take that question.
Yeah, that's a great question. So one of the nice things about T-sheets is implementation is actually a very short process. It takes, I would say, about 5 minutes to create your T-sheets account and do some basic settings like, putting in your payroll periods and whether or not you want to track overtime and things like that. To get the integration with QuickBooks set up in order to sync over into T-sheets your employees, your active customers, service items and classes if you need to track time against those things. That takes, I would say, about 5 to 15 minutes to get that component set up. And here at T-sheets, you get unlimited support as part of your subscription. And so we are perfectly happy to hop on a call, set up a screen share, and walk you through step by step how to get your account integrated. It's something we do every day, but not everybody else does. So I would say start to finish to get your account fully set up and customized the way you need it to be, including things like PTO and all those things. If you wish to, set up PTO in it, I would say probably takes it should take at the most about 45 minutes to an hour. And then from there, just invite your employees with our nifty new little invite tool, and you're off and running. So implementation, very, very short, and you have unlimited support right there at your beck and call. So we're happy to help you with anything you need with that.
And I just want to remind the audience, thank you so much for spending time with us today. We are 45 minutes into the hour, so we have about 15 minutes left. We do have a poll up on the screen. Are you interested in learning more about T-sheets? If you could just take a minute to answer that. I see that 69% of you have voted. Thank you so much for that. And does T-sheets take up any users in QuickBooks, and what versions does this work with?
That's another really great question. So T-sheets will integrate with QuickBooks Desktop, pretty much every version since 2009, I believe. Kelly B., if you could correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I believe it's since 2009. We can integrate with all of them except for Mac. There is no bridge to QuickBooks for Mac, so we're a little stuck on that one when it comes to desktop. With QuickBooks Online, it needs to be QuickBooks Online Plus. We can pull information from Essentials and Simple Start, but Essentials and Simple Start do not have a weekly timesheet, so we can't send any time back. There's nowhere for it to go. So with QuickBooks Online, it needs to be QuickBooks Online Plus for us to be able to send time back.
And oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, there was another part of that question relating to using using users in QuickBooks. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
How does that work?
Well, we will import your active employees from QuickBooks, but we don't create anything in QuickBooks. Aside from dumping time into the weekly timesheets, we don't create anything. So we won't change whatever it is you're paying currently for your QuickBooks at all if you integrate with T-sheets. We'll simply import into T-sheets your active employees, as well as your vendors or 1099 contractors set up as vendors if you wish.
And it looks like Jolene has another question. Thank you, Jolene. Can you use T-sheets for multiple companies, or would each company have to have its own login?
That is a great question. I love that question. So it really comes down to the QuickBooks setup. So if you have, let's say you have a company that has maybe multiple branches, and each of those branches has their own QuickBooks company file, we would need to set up a separate T-Sheets account for each of those branches, because a T-Sheets account can only integrate with one QuickBooks company file. Now, if though you have multiple branches and they all go to the same company file, then we can certainly keep them all in one T-Sheets account as well, since they're just integrating with one QuickBooks company file. Now, if you had a situation though where you have a company that does have multiple locations, it does need to integrate with separate QuickBooks company files, we can do some particular setup things on the T-Sheets end where we wouldn't need to charge the base fee for every single one of those branches, because we would recommend or recognize that they're all part of the same company, just separate branches. So we can definitely, from a billing perspective, treat them as though they're one company, but just make sure that they have separate T-Sheets accounts in order to integrate appropriately with QuickBooks. Does that make sense, Jolene? I hope. I know you can't answer verbally, but.
And Jolene, yes, thanks. Jolene says yes, thanks.
Okay, good.
And it doesn't look like we have any more questions. I just want to remind the audience that there is a little question mark button next to your name on the webinar pane. If you click on that button, it'll open up a dialog box, and you can enter your question in that box, and we will announce it for the presenters. And I'm not seeing any more questions at this time. Denise, would you like to close with any remarks?
Yes, and actually, Adrienne, this is Kelly. And so if anyone, again, has any questions related to T-Sheets or the integration, please feel free to reach out to me directly. My email is right on the screen, my direct line. So please reach out to us, and we're happy to help.
And just a reminder, we are recording this webinar, and we're going to send out a follow-up email from Kelly's email address as well, along with her contact information to everyone who registered. So we just encourage you to respond to that email to Kelly or reach out to Kelly using the phone number that we provide, and we will be in touch. And thank you so much for your interest and spending this hour with us. We know time is very hard to come by, right? That's what we're talking about today. So thank you, everybody, Debbie and Kelly over at T-Sheets for helping us demonstrate this solution.
Fantastic. Thank you, guys, for having us.
All right, everybody, have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.